This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Mysteries version 2023, where we are your hosts. I'm Alexis.
I'm Grace.
And we are for real skis back, y'all. It's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a while. We almost forgot how to get launched in here, get started up with the recording. Because obviously, for those of you who have been following us for quite a while now, we took the month of January off because we weren't able to record for a little while in December with the holidays, with our birthdays, all sorts of wonderful, interesting things happening.
Yeah, we just did a catch up, and January has been
it's been off to an interesting start for the both of us. An adventure. But we're happy to be back recording all that. Super excited. We have a great show lined up for, I guess, the next couple of months here. I'm going to hand it over to Grace, though, because as per usual, she is on deck. She gets us started off. Take it away. Baby. Unless am I forgetting something else? I don't know. Probably.
I mean, should we what if someone's just first time coming into the show because we took January off? Do you want to explain what we do here?
Then they should go back and listen to all
then sucks
50,
to suck.
However many sucks to suck. Welcome to the podcast, y'all. I hope you feel welcomed and loved. Yeah, no, you're right though. Go ahead. Tell any newcomers perhaps what we've been up to. Yeah.
Cool. Yes. So we're a cartoon crime comedy podcast, and we retell classic childhood cartoon tales as quote unquote true crime stories. Every week we go back and forth. We usually pick, except for I guess we should call it now our holiday arc, which is October, November, and December, where we picked any shows we wanted. We usually do an arc of I think 8 episodes usually.
I think so.
Yeah, where we cover again, no rules. You know that about us, or you don't because it's your first episode. Who knows?
Whatever.
2023 is wild, people. Anything could be happening. But yes, we usually choose one show and do 8 episodes from that show, retelling each other. We call those our arcs, and then we move on to another show. On occasion, we have bonus episodes. We'll get back to those at some point.
Eventually.
At some point here. Yes, eventually. And I think that's it. I think that's all we do. We hang out. We wildly speculate a lot.
We love to wildly speculate.
Yes.
And we pretty much just take all these classic animated shows and somewhat recontextualize them for modern days.
We do like to put our own interpretations on them for sure.
Yes, a modern spin. Just add a little zest, a little pizzazz to something that was already great. You know,
a little razzle dazzle.
That much. Hi, yeah, cha cha cha.
Showbiz, baby.
How many times? And we have referenced can dancers more than once on this podcast. So this is very appropriate.
Yes, forever and ever. So with that, we will be starting a new show, a new arc right now, which we are both very excited about. Funny enough, we always have a list of shows that we want to do, and then every time we have to pick a new show, we're just you want to do this one? Yeah, I want to do that one. That's what I was thinking. Cool.
And that's how we choose.
Yeah, exactly. So our new show for 2023 is the only, we've covered it in one episode during our holiday arc before, Powerpuff Girls. Sugar, spice, everything nice.
These are the ingredients.
Exactly, for the perfect little girls. So we did briefly talk about Powerpuff Girls during our Halloween arc back in October. But if you need a quick reminder, it's a show about 3 sisters who happen to be kindergartners and happen to be superheroes also. They were made in a lab by their father, Professor Utonium. And they are Blossom, who is the leader of the 3, Buttercup, who's the tomboy, and Bubbles, who's the little sweethearted one. And I think we maybe talked about it during our Halloween episode, but can you remind me and our listeners what Powerpuff Girls was to you as a child?
Oh man, such a kick-ass show. And that's what the childhood me would say to little 6-year-old. This show's kick-ass. Yeah, it really was though, because I remember I would go back and forth between watching a lot of like superhero shows with my brothers, like the X-Men animated show or like Pokemon, where there's like all this action. And then we would flip over to Powerpuff Girls, where there's just as much action, these 3 little girls. And I think that's why I loved it so much, because I was like, look at these tough little girls out here literally whooping ass and
very violent.
Also kind of destroying the town. It is very violent, actually, but it's also very goofy. Oh yes, and I'm sure for the next several weeks as well, how violent and
destructive.
Oh, a lot of double entendres put in there as well. It's a pretty mature show for the audience really that they were appealing to. So yeah, I think I like kind of like picking out some of those undertones and just watching the violence. Admittedly, I watched a lot of violent shit growing up. So yeah, that's par for the course. And yeah, seeing it all being carried out by these awesome, cute, little adorable girls too, who I could like relate to.
Yep.
Because I guess they were only like technically a few years younger than us, like when the show first came out, because we were super young.
Yep.
So actually, maybe we might have been in kindergarten.
Yeah, I was like, I think I probably should have written down when it came out.
Didn't it come out in like 1996 or something? 99. 98.
Don't know what age kids go to kindergarten, so I have no idea.
what like kids go to school? Is that a thing? Since
once
when?
You can walk, should they be in school?
I think like 6 years old, 5 or 6, maybe 7, depending on some people.
See?
But yeah,
mystery.
Come on, Grace, you got to know these things.
I only know about kindergartners in the context of these 3 superhero children.
Fair. It's a good introduction. Like, oh fuck, if they're all like this though, oh man,
buckle up,
watch out.
Yep. So this family of 4, they live in Townsville, which is a place riddled constantly by monsters and super villains, super genius villains. And though they have a police force in Townsville, the mayor of Townsville, yes, we'll briefly talk about them today too. The mayor of Townsville, a la like Batman, calls upon the Powerpuff Girls for their supreme powers to solve crimes and take down the bad guys. And so in the majority of our shows in the past, some of our episodes, or a lot of our episodes, are more involved in like trying to figure out like who did the crime and like who, what, where, when, why around the criminal and solve the crime. But a good amount of Powerpuff Girls episodes, you like see the villain at like the top.
The jump.
From the jump. And the focus of the episodes are mainly on how the Powerpuff Girls get to best the villain, usually via violence, as already mentioned. So it might feel a little different, less of a mystery, but like we're still going to go through with these detective superheroes. We still got to solve some crimes. So
quite the rap sheets that these villains and the Powerpuff Girls, honestly, too, build up. A lot of issue spotting.
We should actually, if any listener out there, I don't know, is like an urban planner or city planner, you should take note of all of the physical destruction just the Powerpuff Girls do throughout these episodes, and like add up what that would cost in your city to fix, and let us know
in modern
like 2 months at the end,
like adjusted for inflation.
Exactly.
not in $1998.
At the end of this episode arc, let us know how much the city would be charging the Powerpuff Girls in damages, or how much the taxpayers have to pay to have these superheroes in town.
Can we establish this rule now that will kind of be like our overarching, like not necessarily wild speculation, but I guess like hypothesizing throughout the Powerpuff Girl? Like, what's the public benefit here? You know, like, can we weigh this out? Like the damage that they cause versus the good that they, provide? Because like, also, we'll see they save the day, sure, but like,
is this a microcosm for defunding the police? I don't know. It's dicey.
We'll see. I will make a lot of arguments that a lot of this violence and destruction is on the state's behalf, because they are directly acting under authority of the mayor. Yes. So let's just get that on the jump now.
He calls them. He has their version of a bat signal, which also costs taxpayer dollars.
Also, the electricity,
hotline.
Y'all. Come on.
All right, yes, we will. That just like we had to decide in Courage if Eustace was indeed a horrible person. Spoiler
he
alert.
Mostly is.
He is, yes.
Yeah.
Not many redeeming qualities. That will be, yes, our overarching that'll be our crime to solve here throughout this arc.
Yeah. All right.
I love it. So today, as per usual, we start a new arc. I'm going to be covering the very first episode of Powerpuff Girls called Monkey See, Doggie Do.
Oh, gosh.
Which, to no surprise, if you've listened to any of our episodes yet, this was one of my favorite episodes ever because I fucking love dogs. You'll see my dogs probably run in and out of here. You'll definitely hear them in the background. They clearly knew their key demographic by starting off with this episode, which I didn't realize was the first episode ever. But clearly, hook, line, and sinker on me, small child watching this, that this episode has to do with dogs and crime-fighting girls. So I was like, I'm in. Yeah, exactly. No questions
asked. Give me
asked.
every episode you've got.
Take my money. I'm 10 years old. So
take my parents' money.
Yeah, take my parents' money. So we start our episode in the middle of the night as the entire town of Townsville, including the Powerpuff Girls, who share like this enormous bed for the triplets, are all fast asleep. Blossom is like sleeping peacefully. Buttercup is like dream fighting, which is pretty funny. She like sleeps in the middle. It seems not safe to have her dream fighting. Bubbles is snuggling Octi, which is her little octopus stuffed animal with a little top hat on. And even throughout Townsville, we see like all of the clubs and restaurants are closed for the night. Speaking of the police force, there's a cop who's on the street corner who's just standing and is fast asleep while standing, which I guess is why the mayor calls the Powerpuff Girls, because the cop is literally asleep on the job. It's not like a nefarious him being asleep. He's just asleep on the job. Yeah.
Nice.
Not sketchy. He's just not doing his job.
Yeah.
So we also see that the county museum is closed for the night. And I love this because it turns out in more than one series we've covered, the very first episode, such as Scooby-Doo, was also in a county museum.
Yes.
This also, I'm building a personal theory here about myself as to why I must love art thieving so much and like the concept of it, because apparently I grew up seeing it on every cartoon that I loved. So I was like, this happens all the time and it's cool. So Powerpuff Girls is guilty of this.
Nice.
As well.
Yeah.
So anyways, we zoom into the museum where one of the windows has like a giant hole cut out of it. And we see yet another officer of the law within the museum, the security officer, fast asleep at his post.
Oh my goodness. What is this?
Again, taxpayer dollars. What are they doing here?
A sleepover for law enforcement?
Come on, guys. Do it on your free time, not our dime. So just in case, whoever, though, carved out this hole in the window wasn't going to take his chances that they were going to have a good security officer on hand. And we see them with one of the security cameras. They put a little picture over it of like what the background was. So if the officer does wake up, it just looks like they're looking at the art, can't see anything. We pan through the museum and there's statues and portraits, and we hear footsteps kind of echoing in the halls, but don't see anything yet, or hear anything beyond that. But we do see, it kind of zooms in on a statue of Anubis, which is the Egyptian god of the dead, depicted by the head of a jackal, which is like a dog, wolf, coyote animal, canine, if you will.
I will.
And we hear footsteps getting closer and closer and closer to the statue. And as you hear them, they're not just normal footsteps. They really sound like they have a little bit of a heel to them. And then we see a pair of white, I presume leather, heeled boots step into frame. You know exactly where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Maybe the listeners don't. We'll get to who this is.
Mm-hmm.
So this fashionable, sneaky robber can cleverly evade all of the security around the statue. There's a bunch of like little technology and lasers and stuff. And they through it. They use some tech to like reflect the lasers, and they swipe the statue without setting off the alarm. And then the robber dashes to another exhibit, a pair of giant red rubies labeled the Nubile jewels. And the robber, with some also matching white gloves, easily swipes these as well and dashes away back into the sleepy night. The next day, the robbery is the front page news of Townsville. And I mainly only mention this because the front page like cover story is literally like a photo of the like pedestal with the statue on it that says before, and then a photo of the empty pedestal and it says after. Like that's the news.
How else do we depict this? We don't have security footage.
Yeah, true. No crime.
We can't put a video on the newspaper. They didn't have like online news at that point. Yeah,
there's no GIFs then. GIFs.
Yeah. Whichever.
Yes. So the Powerpuff Girls get a phone call from the mayor. They've got a little hotline direct to him, or he has a hotline direct to them at their house. Yes.
I also just realized that means that they just took like an innocent picture of the vase one day, like before it was stolen. Just like, oh, hey, just snap a photo.
Maybe that was the security cam footage, because like it was a picture of. So they were like, no, we used the security cam footage. That's why we're baffled.
I just imagine it being just like a regular snapshot of it. Like, we just need to find any photo. Sorry. Back to where
but
you
yes,
were.
they did have to. The journalists were up all night trying to find that photo,
going through Genndy, filing through
Anubis. So yes, they get a phone call from the mayor that they're needed at the museum to investigate this crime. And unlike some of our other shows, when the Powerpuff Girls arrive, the cops are already in the museum. But apparently they're useless and bad at their jobs, so 3 kindergartners had to be called in. But we'll pause and give them like, okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe they were doing their jobs. Let's see what happens here. So the Powerpuff Girls ask the cops if they've found any clues yet, because they like come in, they obviously see law enforcement there. They're like, "What you got? We're here on this investigation with you." But the museum curator interjects. He's so glad to see the Powerpuff Girls are there instead of just the cops. And he tells them that he hasn't allowed them to look for clues yet, saying that, quote, quote, doesn't want the brutish cops clomping around my precious museum, which is very funny. Because he was just like, no, these cops suck and they're gonna fuck shit up. Like,
yeah, they're gonna break everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I did not want them here. Also, as a side note, very suspicious of the curator to not let them look for clues. I assume he's the one who called them in to begin with.
Yeah,
pretty sus. Maybe they didn't have a warrant, but it's also like an active crime scene. I don't know.
I mean, if he calls them, they don't need a warrant.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. Anyway. Yeah, that's like the legalities here.
Do we want to get into the legal schematics on this crime focused podcast?
No, we brush over that pretty quickly. As we literally have a lawyer on the phone. We're like, no. Next.
Go into it, it's like, no, that's not what we're here to talk about.
Actual crime? I don't think so. Let's talk about what they're not doing at this museum, which is finding clues. And so yes, so again, the curator is like, oh, they're gonna fuck shit up, these cops suck. Powerpuff Girls, get at it, I trust you. He's gonna learn to regret this, because there's 3 Powerpuff Girls with or 3 kindergartners with superpowers, probably hyped on some sugary breakfast cereal. So city planners, this is a county museum, so taxpayer funded, start getting out those calculators.
Probably lots of antiques in here as well.
Hopefully this museum has insurance. In our last episode we talked about insurance, I think.
Hey, it always comes back to that.
Get it in here, because the Powerpuff Girls immediately fly off and riggedy fucking wreck this museum. Like, They burst through walls instead of just like going to the door. The way they like zip off really quickly, like rips up the floor and like knocks over like statues everywhere. They're like ripping art off the walls to find clues. They basically create another crime scene. Like,
okay, awesome. They actually did more damage than just like the theft of the Anubis and the rubies or whatever. It's like, damn, fixing this is like 5 times the cost of those artifacts that were stolen.
Yes, and I think this goes to one piece of supporting evidence, we'll call it. I don't know what side it's on yet, for our overarching question of not only do they not find any clues, or I guess what I'm getting at this point is they're better at violence than actual detective work, because
yes,
not only do they not find any clues, but they like come back after, again, ruining things and are like, we don't see anything. And then one of the cops is like, oh yeah, they took those jewels too. Like, the girls did not notice that the jewels were gone because they were too busy ruining.
They're about that action. Yes.
Yes. So while all of this is happening simultaneously, we zip over to our very fashionable robber, who I guess is very thorough and smart. They were wearing gloves, left no fingerprints. Not that I saw anyone dusting for them. Whatever. It was the 90s. Who knows? So we see the criminals. I guess we see their white gloves right now in their lair, twisting the rubies into the Anubis statue head, followed by a deep reverberating laughter. He's like twisting them in and like where like the eyes would be in this dog.
Yeah, okay.
And the laughter is followed by a voice that says, ah, yes, at last, the ancient curse of the Anubis doghead will finally be unleashed, and then the human race will bow to me, Mojo Jojo! And we see the wearer of the high-heeled boots and the gloves, the one, the only, the most infamous Powerpuff villain, Mojo fucking Jojo, baby! So, Mojo Jojo is a black and green sharp-toothed ape. Stick with us, everyone. He is an ape. He does know English and can speak / interact with humans. Nobody cares that he's a monkey, though. They're all cool with it. Beyond his fashionable white boots, he also has matching white gloves, a blue, like, dress type of thing. It's a little jumper, maybe, we'll call it. Unclear exactly. It's just kind of like a rectangle on him. A very flowing purple cape and this dome-shaped helmet that's white and purple. And if I'm not mistaken, doesn't that dome like protect just his brain, which is just like
like his brain is the size of the entire dome, and it like you put it's like exposed brain, like no skull or hair or anything, skin.
But like that is his skull, is basically the helmet. I like don't remember where in the arc of Powerpuff Girls we find this out, but I just like have that image seared into my mind. I think it terrified me when I was a kid.
There are some episodes where they just beat him up so bad that like they crack it and like you just see his brain hanging out of it. It's like, oh god. Yeah.
This show is pretty gory.
I feel like this is why I liked horror movies and stuff growing up, because of Powerpuff Girls. Like, oh yeah, I see stuff like that all the time in this cartoon already.
These children beat the shit out of a monkey and expose its brain.
His like brain and bones. Awesome. Exactly. The Powerpuff Girls saved the day.
And again, the day is saved thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. So I won't get too much into the backstory of Mojo Jojo, just because I have a feeling that he will come up multiple times during this Powerpuff arc, and some episodes like his backstory comes into the crime, all that kind of stuff. So I think just throughout the Powerpuff Girls arc, more will be revealed about Mojo. But basically, I'll give kind of like what he's about now type of thing. So he's the Powerpuff Girls and Townsville's main nemesis. His forever goal, like a great supervillain, is to take over the entire world and destroy the Powerpuff Girls. And overall, he is cunning. He's kind of pretty much a genius. He's like constantly creating different technologies and weapons to help him achieve this goal. And though sometimes he can appear very like pinkies up, high class, like better than thou, while he's in some of his schemes, he does have a pretty bad temper because he's a literal ape. Please keep in mind, he is a primate. So you have a short temper and can get violent at the drop of a hat. So we quickly see that not only did he steal all these artifacts from the museum, knew something going on, some magical connection between the statue and the rubies, how to connect them, turn this thing on, unlocking an ancient magic that is part of his latest and greatest plan to destroy the human race. We'll see what's going on there. He has also created, which we'll get to in a minute, some other contraptions to help him with this. So this is not just a random robbery. He's got a plan going on. He always does.
As per usual.
Yes, as per usual. We zip back to the Powerpuff Girls, who, after the museum, are flying throughout Townsville on a hot day, discussing how strange this case is. When they notice, maybe I don't think it's an actual crime, a small crime. Either way, they notice that there's a dog trapped in a car on a hot day.
Barking. That's a crime.
Yeah, I was like, to me, it's a crime.
Sorry.
It's
not as a lawyer.
Crime.
It's a personal crime. That's a crime against humanity, maybe not against the state, but a crime against life and civilization.
Yes, exactly. Do you want PETA on your ass? I don't think so. So the dog is barking in the car. He obviously wants to get out. He's like pawing at the window. The sun is shining bright. So the girls fly down to get him out of the car. And just like in the museum, they delicately handle the situation by literally ripping the door off of the car to get this dog out.
Awesome.
Yes. Which I guess maybe it's helpful to point out here of what are the girls' powers beyond like flying?
Good point.
I should have written all of them down.
It's a hodgepodge.
Yes, lots of different powers. There's no invisibility type of stuff, but it's basically like super.
That's probably the only one they don't have that you mention.
Yeah, it's like invisibility and like X-ray vision they don't have, but everything else, think of like just enhanced everything, like speed, strength, supernatural. Can channel elements.
I think Buttercup has like shot lasers out of her hands before.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
out of her eyes. I think Bubbles has talked to animals. Like it's all over the place. It's everything. Yeah. Just everything that any superhero you can think of can do.
Anything that they need in the moment, they can do, basically. They are the superiest of superheroes. Minus again the fact that
Professor Utonium, by the way. Like
I
what
know.
The hell?
Yeah, which also
created.
We should point out too, maybe I should say this at the top. We said he created them in the lab. He was indeed trying to create the three perfect little girls.
Yeah.
He's a professor. He does experiments, la-di-la-di-la. He had sugar, spice, everything nice. He was all putting them in.
Stirring it all together.
Turning it on a big old vat with no safety equipment on.
None.
Which, then led to, he was being a little clumsy, clearly. He accidentally hit this other chemical that he had in the lab, chemical X, I believe it is called, and it all just dumped into the formula of that, and thus the three perfect little girls got the superpowers from chemical X, thus they can do everything. So there you go.
Yeah. There's a whole side story of wild speculation that could be done about just his motives. Like, why was he trying to create three girls in a lab? Yeah. Why? There could be some like sad
he just
wild
had
speculation. Yeah. Why did you just have chemical X? Yeah. Like sitting right over top of your experiments.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe
we'll probably get more into Professor Utonium as we go throughout as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not today. He's an interesting father figure. They also only call him the professor, which is also very strange.
Strange. Not dad. Not that anyway.
We'll examine Professor X throughout.
Lots of examining to be done during this arc.
It's going to be a big arc, everyone.
Taking notes over here.
So the little dog steps out of the car and kind of collapses onto the pavement. He's so toasty. And he speaks to the Powerpuff Girls. And he's kind of groaning and just very ominously says, "Help me." And so obviously the girls are like, what the fuck is going on? And they zip over to the dog to be like, excuse me, you can talk to us. What's happening? Are you okay? How can we help you? But as the dog tries to continue to speak, his pained voice just gives away to just barking. And then more barks start happening, and the girls look around, and they are surrounded by dogs who are all yapping at them frantically, just like the one who was in the car also now is just barking at them. In the sky, they see the Powerpuff Girl symbol, the heart in the sky, above Town Hall. And so they zip there to be like, clearly something is afoot. But they get there too late, because by the time they arrive, the mayor is finishing a transformation before their very eyes, going from human to dog, unable to explain what's happening before he starts barking at them too. Very preciously, Bubbles is like, puppy, and gives him a little belly rub. But then Blossom and Buttercup are like, Bubbles, this is the mayor. Like, get it together. Yeah. So, yeah.
I know, but has a crime really occurred here? This sounds kind of like a dream.
Literally, first episode again, I was hooked. I was like,
yeah,
steal Anubis statue.
Turn world into
rubies. Dreams come true. Perfect. So the girls dash home to safely regroup, because clearly some wild shit's going on in town. But as they arrive home, they find their lab dad, the professor, has also been turned into a dog, which also the professor is always like smoking a pipe, and the little dog has a little pipe too, which is pretty cute. All of the dogs look like the people. Nice. But they freak out, and he's barking at them as they're trying to figure out like what's going on. They're like, Professor, like, what do you want? Like, what are you trying to tell us? They kind of do like a little charades situation. He keeps just bow-wowing at them, because all the other dogs bark, but the professor has a very specific intonation. He goes, bow wow, bow wow wow. And they're just not understanding until he corrects his cadence and says, bow wow, wow wow. And the girls immediately understand. Mojo, Jojo.
Oh.
Yes, they
can communicate with animals.
Yeah, this would be a really good time for Bubbles to just speak to dogs, but
yeah, whatever, I know, right? Fine. But whatever, it's
she fine. Didn't know she could do it yet.
They're still trying to understand their powers and what all they can do.
Look,
that's why they cause so much destruction. Exactly. Yeah, learning. We don't have like some training facility in the lab.
Right. Our expectations should remain in check for them.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Mojo Jojo is moving throughout Townsville with the Anubis statue with the ruby red eyes in it. And the eyes now, like coming from the eyes, emanating from the eyes, are basically like bright red laser beams shooting from the eyes that once like they got twisted, they started like shooting out. And they're blasting citizens with lasers that turn them from human to Doge. So, a character I didn't mention at the top, but is very important to Powerpuff Girls, is the narrator, who brings us through every episode. And as Mojo is blasting people into dogs, the narrator says, "Doggone you, Mojo Jojo." And Mojo breaks the fourth wall and blasts the screen with the laser dog Anubis beam. And then all you hear the narrator doing is, row, 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 row. So Powerpuff is just full of clever little.
Amazing. I love it. Yeah.
Yes. So, like you mentioned, I literally have this written down. Okay, turning everyone to dogs doesn't seem that bad. We'd miss some of the good things humans do, but on the whole, I always say dogs are so much better than humans, so I wouldn't hate this world.
Yeah.
So,
So
we share the same
think about
sentiment.
It this way. Humans do a lot of good, but they also do a lot of bad.
But
dogs pretty much only do good.
Exactly. If a dog does something that we deem bad, it's probably because the owner.
It's our fault.
Yeah, exactly. We're the ones who did this to them. So, just saying, a lot better place.
So is Mojo Jojo really a criminal here? I don't know.
But
this episode is not weighing highly in favor of the public good argument for the Powerpuff Girls.
But
being a little bit of a burden right now.
The turn happens.
Okay.
Because in the hands of perhaps us and 10-year-old me watching this, 5-year-old me watching this, we would have been great to turn everyone into dogs and not had that power go to our heads.
Yeah.
However, another thing about the magic of this statue is that the dogs are hypnotized by it and thus hypnotized by whoever holds the statue. So if it were us, we would all just play. We would cuddle. We would take little puppy naps together. We would have a great little doggy time.
Just running around in the fields.
Exactly. Just rolling, going to play in the water. It'd be so fun. But that's not Mojo's plan. Okay. He stands at the center of Townsville, surrounded by what is now hundreds of dogs who are all staring at the statue. Their eyes have the classic hypnotized little spirals on them. Yes, the swirls. And Mojo announces to all of them that he is their master and they must obey him, which we see that they will do because he tells them to sit and they all sit. And then he does his next command, which is usually, this tends to be the downfall of Mojo many times in the sense of he overcomplicates plans. So his command to all of the dogs is to steal, steal, steal. And all of the dogs break formation and begin robbing and looting Townsville left and right. First of all, they all turn into Doberman Pinschers. There is some stereotyping of dogs going on here.
A little bit, yeah.
Yes. 2, half of them have ski masks on now, which is very funny. That's
hilarious.
Where'd they get them? How'd they cut the holes in them? Who's watching the security footage that they need to hide their identities from? I have a lot of questions about this gang of Dobermans who were like,
how they even get them on? I imagine they all line up. You just see Mojo putting them on one by one, good boy, good girl.
Get a little treat as they stick their noses through. Dogs
your dogs hear you.
Yeah, they're like, this is bullshit. So anyways, I had some questions about the logistics of this situation.
Yeah.
Who knows? Dogs can't use scissors to cut the holes. I mean, they ripped them through their little teeth. I thought a lot about it and had no answers, basically.
He mind controlled them into figuring it out, Grace.
Yes, that was my solution because it was the easy way out. I was like, nope, he told them how to do it. So they bust namely into banks and jewelry shops is what they're mainly busting into and stealing. You see all the dogs walking out with little bags of money. Oh, speaking of Doges, people watching on YouTube.
Dog walking out as your dog walks in.
Yeah, he was like, you didn't see anything. That's Mako.
I've been here all along.
Yes, exactly. So with his riches, Mojo returns to his lair, which is this giant telescope tower in the middle of Townsville's Central Park, essentially, just hiding in plain sight.
Okay.
And in it, and this is the tech he built to go with the statue, he's built this he was real dedicated to his cause. He is a little more style over substance. He's built this furnace, essentially, that the Anubis statue sits at the head at, but it's in the shape of a fire hydrant because dogs like to be on fire hydrants.
Wow. Style over substance, indeed.
Yes, 1,000%. And the dogs, as they come in with all their riches, are tossing the jewels and gold bars that they've stolen from town into the base of the furnace, which Mojo is turning on, setting on fire, basically, and melting down all of these goods. Oh, and here is my other dog. Yes. For people who are confused, I usually sit in this corner, but I have been too lazy now to reset up in that corner. So now we have this view. And now you get to see my dogs, who are always usually in the background doing things you could just
and honestly, it just is better for everyone because
exactly
who does not want to see the dogs just kind of walking? As often as we talk about dogs on this podcast, it's God, we need some dogs in the background.
Yes,
now we got
a very good episode to have them show up in.
Yes.
So where were we? Yes, so we have jewels and things being tossed into the fire hydrant furnace. The Anubis statue is sitting at top. And here's the somewhat confusing thing that's going on here. So I guess melting down other jewels and shiny objects like supercharges the Anubis statue, which only turned on with the ruby red jewels in it. And I say supercharges because the like laser beams that were coming out of the Anubis statue are now like full force coming out very aggressively, like huge laser beams now. And I also
it's powered by melted gold.
Yes, I think just like powered by riches.
Melted thing. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but
that's a very poetic way of saying that.
Thank you. I didn't even write it down. I just came up with it right now. And why I also said earlier he like overcomplicates plans. Like, why couldn't he have just stolen everything first himself to was the point to supercharge it? But it turns out, no, it did make sense because his plan is indeed, because I was at first like, wait, he just wanted all these riches. But no, it turns out his grand plan is to turn the entire world into dogs, not just Townsville to steal things, because it's so supercharged. Townsville is so rich that the lasers literally blast into the atmosphere and start going around the earth. It's part of the pressure system now, the weather system. We see worldwide some pretty dicey depictions around the world of people turning into some stereotypical dogs, I guess maybe for the region.
Yeah.
We're not going to name them all. It happens.
Okay.
So, yes, he hits a giant button. Laser beam going throughout, Anubis statue, everyone's turning into dogs. That was indeed his grand plan. Start small, get the dogs to do his leg work, then turn everyone in the world to dogs.
Sorry, you're Dio.
Dio's like, this plan is so dumb. Look at him judging right now.
I know, he's also like, you better not try anything.
He's like, Diary, here's the thing. Mako would steal and murder for us to the ends of the earth. Diary, when we were longboarding with him once, or like with them, and Mako using them as sled dogs, we got to a hill and Diary just stopped. He was like, I'm not pulling you up this. You got legs. Fucking do it yourself.
You do it.
Yeah. So, yes.
Nice.
He thinks this is a bad plan. This is a bad plan.
He just nodded a little bit, like, yeah.
He was like, Mojo is so stupid. Those dogs in this episode are so dumb. Humans are dumb. Yes, they are, baby. So, as everyone in the entire world apparently is turning into dogs.
Yeah.
The Powerpuff Girls smash into the tower because they know where Mojo's at. Again, hiding in plain sight.
Yep.
However, they immediately get blasted by that same laser and they turn into puppies, which Mojo laughs at and calls them the Powerpuff Girls, which is very funny. So the Powerpuffs. Yeah.
Yes.
And honestly, if I wasn't already mind, body, and sold on this show when I was a child, this moment is what really got me because they are so fucking cute as little puppies. Like they're all like
eyes.
Yeah, they have like the huge eyes. They're all like the respective color of their hair. So like Blossom is like an all red dog with like a long tail. Buttercup is like this little black pup with like little short spiky ears, and Bubbles is like just yellow and like the extra big eyes, and they have like little stumpy legs, and they were just so cute. But it goes from cute to terrifying in literal seconds because as they start to growl and snarl at Mojo, they do notice statue at the top. They kind of clock that, the laser beam thing, and they're like, got it. We got to knock that down. They start to rush to the furnace to run at it at full force, which they are able to do. But Mojo catches the statue because he obviously sees this happening. He's not trying to kick the dogs away. He just wants to save his precious statue thing, the Anubis statue. So not only does he catch it, but then he releases other dogs under his control, which are more Doberman Pinschers. And they full on get into like a full dog fight. Not just like, let's growl and bark at each other. Like, I guess Cartoon Network knew if there's one thing children love, it's violence. Because the Powerpuffs fully attack these Doberman Pinschers. Again, a literal dogfight. We see them not only like pawing at each other's faces, we see them biting each other's necks, like chomping their tails and ears and like ripping, doing the like like how like dogs will like shake a toy and like shake their heads as if like to break a neck of an animal. That's what they're doing to each other, including like the Powerpuffs like jumping on the backs of the Dobermans, like ferocious, like they would be tearing chunks of flesh out if they didn't pan away from the camera. So it's all just, they're going real hard at each other for the first episode of the show.
Yeah, like we really got to get these kids into it, okay? Make it as violent and bloody as you can.
Yes.
I'm assuming no actual blood, but still.
No actual blood. It is implied. But I guess like the Powerpuffs, I guess low-key kill these Doberman Pinschers, which as a side note, in our October episode, they also killed someone, if you remember the zombie that they just crushed in an Iron Maiden. So
it's probably
add it to the list.
Continuing our overarching discussion.
Lethal force is on the table
all the time.
Yes. So again, I guess they kill these Dobermans via biting their necks. They're able to get away and go after Mojo Jojo. And after seeing how helpful their newfound chomping abilities are, Blossom and Bubbles distract Mojo by kind of like hackles up, growling, approaching him. Buttercup sneaks behind him and chomps him right on his little monkey butt, which causes him to drop and break the statue, which automatically breaks this magical curse spell thing. And everyone turns back into humans. Somehow it temporarily changes him into a dog. So the Powerpuff Girls take him home as their new puppy.
Aww.
And a few things happen. So one, back as a human, the narrator tells us that the day is saved thanks to the Powerpuff Girls, because they always end with like a great little, with that line and a great little pose. But here's the other thing. Luckily, the Powerpuff Girls indeed saved everyone from becoming dogs / Mojo Jojo slaves. But like, if the Powerpuff Girls killed those Doberman Pinschers and then they changed back into humans, is this murder?
Thank you.
Self-defense?
That's why I started laughing after you said everyone started changing back, because I was like, oh my God, what happened to the Doberman Pinschers? They just got their necks torn off.
Are there just like 7 dead bodies?
So, okay. Yeah. I was wondering, like, so do they stay dogs because they're dead? They died as dogs, or do they turn back into humans? But you see like giant chunks taken like out of their neck and they're just still like dead.
They're like still dead, or like their families turn back to humans. They're like, we'll go find our loved ones, and like come to the tower and they're just dead. Like either way, it's a gruesome scene.
Yeah, it's not a good outcome. Yeah. I mean, either they're dead dogs still, or they're dead humans. They're dead. Like that's the end result. It's just I wonder if they change back or not. How strong is that Anubis? Man,
I mean, it blasted the literal atmosphere, and somehow like kickback effect turned Mojo temporarily into a dog. So I think, I mean, also like the moment from dog fight to Mojo Jojo dropping the statue because of butt bite was like moments. So like it takes a little bit for you to bleed out. So like the people could have been dogs changed back to humans and then are like, oh fuck, well I'm dying now. Like my jugular has been ripped out. I have moments.
You imagine like waking up to that, like, oh god, no.
Right, to see like bloody ass kindergartners, like they changed
like
back to
blood around their mouths, I suppose. Yeah,
like, if this was a horror movie, they would be dripping in blood around their mouths. We don't see the blood, but
we know
it's there.
We know. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, regardless, it's homicide, but the Powerpuff Girls could probably argue self-defense and get kicked down to a manslaughter or something, or like involuntary manslaughter or something like that. Or second degree.
Either way.
But either way.
In the eyes of Townsville, the day is saved.
Yeah,
Thanks
exactly.
to the Powerpuff
The
Girls.
Powerpuff Girls.
And that's it. That's our first episode. There you go. Only 7 human/dogs dead.
Can I ask just one more question too? When Mojo Jojo turned into a dog, did he still have his helmet thing on?
He had the helmet thing and his cape still.
Oh, I'm like, I bet he was so cute, but also looked so strange.
No, he was very cute, and he had because his monkey fur is very jagged, and so as a dog, he had very jagged fur. And they show him in the backyard, and the professor's like, "Now, girls, taking care of a supervillain's a big responsibility," and they're like, "Oh, Professor." No one's talking about the murder that just happened.
No one, no.
Overlooking it.
They were evil henchmen. They had it coming. This is what happened.
Had it coming. The professor knows this and knows not to ask questions.
The mayor knows. Yes. The professor never asks the girls how their missions went. He's like, I don't want to know what these little girls just saw or what they had to do. What they saved. That's all that matters. And also because he low-key is also, oh my God, adding to our overarching wild speculation. He's very liable too, because he created these little
exactly.
Little demons.
Also is Chemical X. I feel like there's I feel like you would probably know because you actually watch horror movies, but isn't there there's horror movies in which it's a chemical that makes people extremely violent or makes the zombies extremely violent? Chemical X clearly had a violent
something
subnote
bad
to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's usually a virus or some shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's something. It changes something in your I don't know. Here we go doing science again.
Sorry, Lenny.
Sorry, your neurons or something. I don't know how it works. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, amazing. Great job.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it.
So yes, it was very fun. I loved this episode. I was so thrilled that was the first episode. But between now and next week, where you will be telling us some Powerpuff adventures, who should our audience tell about this podcast?
Okay, I think, and I don't even know if they exist anymore, but tell your local dog catcher. I'm sure they exist in some areas, but find them, tell them. This episode's dedicated to them, kind of, not really. I don't know.
Yeah, really.
But anyway.
I like it. After that, you should go to your local dog rescue and tell the people working there. And while you're there, give them a nice little donation. They need the money. If you have the capacity to adopt, you should, but only if you're able to right now. And if not, slip them a little 20. They need some extra funds. It's hard to run dog shelters, and tell them listen to this podcast while they take care of the dogs. They got to take them out for walks. They got to listen to something as they care for all these rescues. So, there you go. And till now next week.
Till next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.